You know, I think by now you'd never have guessed that I like skateboarding. But skateboarding is definitely a unique thing to be into. You see, unlike other big name sports such as basketball, football, soccer, lacrosse, hockey, in order to do skateboarding you don't really need anything except you and your skateboard. Your handy dandy, trusty skateboard. Which makes it to be a very convenient and simplistic sport to be able to initially take part of. In this regard, skateboarding can appeal to the simplistic creatures out there, and I am probably one of them. It doesn't take much to please me. I consider myself quite a simple man. Give me a glass of scotch and I'll probably be set for a couple of hours. And with that in mind, skateboarding is the perfect activity for me. I can have a great time just stepping on the board and riding in some really just plain locations. If you want to get into the extreme side of things, of course there are some really complex parts of skateboarding that you can get into when it comes to ledges and ramps and rails, stairs, all that kind of stuff. It can get kind of complicated there, but all you really need is a skateboard and some good flat ground. And so that's what we're gonna do today. We're gonna try and take a look at the simpler side of life. I'll try that. So I'm sure you've heard in the past the statement that the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. And by that definition, I guess you could consider all skateboarders insane. But a quick Google search determines that definition to be false. Insanity, now, the state of being seriously mentally ill, madness. Second definition, extreme foolishness or irrationality, which I guess by the second definition there, this statement still holds true. All skateboarders are insane. If you think about it, stepping on this tiny plank of wood attached to some rolling wheels and then throwing yourself down things, trying to flip it, land back on it, is a little bit insane. But you know, I don't think I mind all too much. If you want to call me insane, then I'm perfectly fine about that. I'm insane about skateboarding. So I'm still somewhat recovering from that rolled ankle injury I sustained about a couple of weeks ago, and going to the skate park just makes me kind of sad because I see all these beautiful obstacles and I can't really skate any of them. So doing a little bit of simplistic skating these last couple of days has really been quite a godsend, for lack of a better term. It's really just kind of perfect just to be able to ride around this kind of really smooth ground, putz about, not really do anything super intensive or impressive. Although I will say I'm quite excited and pleased with myself being able to ollie over that tennis net. I haven't done anything quite like that, ollied anything very high, since I was kind of a bit of a youth. Ollies over obstacles that are pretty tall are a bit difficult for me lately, but I feel like I'm starting to get it back, and that tennis net ollie was a bit of a reminder for me because I know I could get it physically, you know? I was able to hop over there with the board, I just wasn't putting it down. I wasn't keeping my feet there, and it goes back to the whole saying about skateboarding being mostly mental, where the physical prowess is where it needs to be, and you just gotta find out a way to get your head in the right space so that you commit to your tricks. Nevertheless, I'm having a blast just doing some really minimal skateboarding without having to really put too much pressure on myself, because of just, I'm in recovery mode right now, you know, and it's weird that I had to give myself somewhat of an excuse to not go ham, as the kids like to call it, back in 2010. It's just kind of relaxing. It's a bit of a relief to not limit myself because I'm putting expectations, and it goes back to what I've been, I guess, saying as a broken record, and it's all about just having fun. And all you need to have fun is really just some flat ground. But it doesn't hurt to have a little obstacle here and there just to tinker with, and I think that's what we're doing next. We're heading over to the concrete block and a little bit of a curb spot and just do some silly little light work. So this thing is equally difficult and fun to skate. It takes a little bit of time figuring out what works with it, but when you do, it's always a blast. If you go back and watch our first episode of Spot Hunters, Justin and I killed this thing back then, but I haven't skated in a while, and so I'm a little rusty with the obstacle. And that's the kind of thing with street obstacles, little things that you're gonna tinker with. They take just a little bit extra time to figure out because they're not your standard ramps, not your standard ledges, not your standard procedure. But anyway, we're losing daylight out here. As you can see, it's pretty dark, pretty noisy. I'm sure the footage looks like garbage. So we're gonna go home, we're gonna rest up this evening and get back at it in another day, in another fashion, on another occasion, in another way, and with some more of that skateboarding passion. I'm such a poet, dude. Why am I skateboarding? Why am I doing this YouTube thing? I should just, you know, go and sell my poetry. Be the next Charles Dickens, Spooty Fickens. Gotta hop this fence to get home. See if I can do it with one hand. What'd you rate my performance?
Very good.
Yeah? 10 out of 10?
10 out of 10.
The judges have spoken.
Skateboarders are simple creatures because it doesn't take much to entertain us. Give us a flat, smooth piece of ground, maybe throw in a curb or a ledge or two, and we'll be pretty entertained for a few hours. Now, of course, you're not going to go pro, you're not going to get the best at skating as you can be with just those limited obstacles. You may need a skate park, maybe a few street spots in order to accomplish that. But on the minimalist side of things, that's all that's really required. Just a skateboard and some ground, and we can occupy ourselves and be fairly content for a long time. There are of course kids that are brought to the skate parks by their parents when they can barely walk, let alone ride a skateboard, and they end up getting in the way, becoming a nuisance, and potentially getting hurt. But for the most part, skateboarders usually begin by just riding around their neighborhood, in front of their house, down the street, and that really just sort of holds true for as long as you skateboard. There's a very simple pleasure, a simple satisfaction in just throwing your board down and riding around. Even using it as transportation can be immensely satisfactory. And that's what I mean when I say skateboarders are simple creatures. Not that there's nothing going on in our brains, not that they were stupid, and not that we are unintelligent, but just that we don't need much to occupy our time. We don't need much to be able to be enthused or enthralled. And it's the simple pleasures that really make up the man that makes up the skateboarder. But as always, this has been the opinion of a singular spoot. And now I want to hear from you guys. Let me know in the comment section below what you think about skateboarding being a simplistic pleasure, and whether or not you consider yourself a simple, easy to please kind of person. I love hearing from your comments, and I read each and every one of them, so feel free to go down below and click, clack on that keyboard a little bit. For all things skateboarding and shenanigans, stay tuned to this channel, Spootyskater, every single week. And until I see you in the next video, keep on spooting. Anything noisy that you do, I'll just take it off your tab. Got my hat on backwards because that's what the cool kids do. That's what my mom told me that the cool kids do. So she said you should wear your hat backwards when you film your YouTube video. And I said, Mom, I know how to film a YouTube video. But she's like, a lot of times when you film your YouTube videos, you got your hat on forward. And when the brim is in front of your face, you look like a dweeb, you look like a doofus. Everybody's making fun of you. Even if they don't comment it down below, they are making fun of you behind your backs. And you can't have that, honey, darling, dear. So put your hat on backwards before you go and film the outro segment of this video, and then all the skater boys and skater girls, they're going to respect you. You know, you're going to be the coolest kid on the block, and they're going to give you all the monies and all the likes, and the internet fame is going to be yours for glory and eternal holiness in matrimony, for life and love after, in sickness and in health, until death do the YouTube channel part. Wow, that was intense.